Hey friends, I found this image on Pinterest and it's going to be my inspiration piece for the day. It's very similar to style that I like. I just haven't done the whole rounded, what do you call these things? I don't know, arches off the page. So I'm going to borrow that idea. And I'm starting with just a brush marker. You can use a Sharpie. I've been trying to avoid water-based markers, so I either use alcohol markers or acrylic markers, only because I usually like to incorporate watercolor, and then I don't get as much, I don't get smearing and smudging. These color markers are my new alcohol markers that I just ordered. If you watched previous video, I was trying to use some of my old ones and they're starting to dry out. So I got a new set. I got a set with 120, which is a little overkill for me because I think people who are really into blending techniques in like illustration, cartooning, that type of thing, really like a lot of variation in different shades of color. And I probably could have gotten, a smaller set of maybe even half that would suit my needs. But it is nice to have a variety of color to choose from. And one of my intentions for this piece is to limit the colors. I don't want it to be so many colors that it's just kind of wild. So I'm trying to pick just a few colors that I really like together. So pinks and purples, blues, light greens have been kind of the colors that I've been drawn to lately. I don't know, they seem very playful, happy colors to me. So isn't it funny how we can go through phases where I remember being in a phase where I just like neutral tones, natural tones, browns, earthy colors. I still do, but as far as my artwork goes, I've just really been drawn to more playful, bright colors. As you can see on the top of the page from that's a watercolor bleed through from a previous page that I did. And as I'm choosing these colors, I am starting to realize I was going to just leave the bleed through color at the top, like no big deal, just kind of incorporate it into my page. But because there's such bright yellows and oranges, it's kind of clashing with the colors that I'm choosing for my little, what do we call these things? Bubbles, rounded arches. I don't know. So you'll see in a few minutes, I will do something about that. Anyway, I'll stop talking for a little bit and let you just watch and enjoy the music. Okay, after filling in all of my arches with varying widths of color, I went back over each distinction with a thin marker. I think this is a 0.5 marker. It's in my little set that it's similar to Micron markers, pigment ink. I got them at Hobby Lobby. I'll put all that and everything I use, I will put in the notes. But yeah, this just gives each color a little bit more definition and contrast. And then from there, I got out my Posca pen markers, which are acrylic paint markers. And my go-to is dots. I love dots. So I start with white, and I mean, white and black pretty much go with anything. So I'm kind of varying them depending on which color I'm using them on to make them pop. I have a tendency to keep adding more and more detail, and it's just kind of my style, I guess, but you might have a different style. You might feel totally satisfied with less. So I think I filled in dots in every single space. After I went through the black and white Posca pens, I got out my silver acrylic marker. I love using silver because I love at the end when you move the page around, you can see that reflection there. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but yeah, you can see it a little bit. And to me, it just gives it a little bit more dimension and more dots. You know, you can't go wrong with more dots, right? So at this point, it's really similar to my inspiration piece with the white background. And at first I was excited to have to leave a little bit of white, but because of these bright colors that are clashing, I am going to use some acrylic paint to paint over those. I chose this sky blue, which coordinates with one of the colors that I already used. But I'm excited that it's going to give it kind of a sky feel when it's done. I've also determined after doing so many pages where I am smushing my paintbrush in between all these wires that I think this will be probably my last wire journal for this type of artwork. I might use them for something else, but I'll probably move on after this. I like it when it's finished, but it's just kind of a pain in the butt to maneuver around all the holes there. So I took a pencil and traced lightly where I want my edges to be to try to keep them consistent. The only problem is you can see right under my finger there, right there, I already had paint pretty close to the edge of that one. And so when I started out, I wanted more of a buffer there. And so it ends up being a little bit uneven. And again, I didn't like that. So you'll see here in a second what I do about that. First, you got to dry it off. So do you see what I mean there? Well, when it was faced the other way, now it's on the top, but these kind of cloudy edges are a little thicker than that side. I tried to make it more cloud-like by giving the corners more pointed edges right there. But I still, got to do some more dots. Sometimes we get to a page to the end of the page and there's just something we don't like about it. Sometimes we can't do anything about it and we just go, oh well, and we move on. But I decided that I was going to go back through with another marker and just try to create the same width on there by just drawing another line. So we'll see how that turns out. So what do you think? Do you think that helped? See, this was the before, that was the after, this was the way before. So I'm happy with the way it turned out. It gives me a little bit of Dr. Seuss feel. I feel like I'm in the Lorax or something, looking at a mountain range maybe. I don't know. What does it remind you of? Let me know. And thanks for watching. And see you next time.